Hello, my name is Jigar Shah, and I'm the director of the Loan Programs Office here at the U.S. Department of Energy. And I'm joined by Jeremy Harrell, the CEO of ClearPath. Jeremy, welcome.
Thanks, Jigar. Good to see you.
Welcome back from your international travel. You look fresh.
Thank you. Baku, a long trip, but exciting conversations about clean energy and climate action.
Well, let's start with a little of your background and ClearPath and the mission. I'd love to learn more about, how you got here to the clean energy sector.
Yeah, absolutely. ClearPath is a conservative clean energy organization whose mission is to accelerate American innovations capable of reducing global energy emissions. And so ClearPath is a unique NGO in this space. We work and find top private sector innovators, find barriers to their commercial deployment, and then try to foster a policy environment that allows them to scale up. So in other words, we're enabling U.S. Innovation to meet our economic, geopolitical, and climate needs.
Well, look, I think when you think about where we are today in the United States with solar and wind and battery storage, you certainly have some technologies that have crossed that bridge to bankability and scaled up on the other side. But then there's other sectors that, frankly, have taken a little more work. So maybe nuclear power is maybe one of them. Maybe talk a little bit about your background there and some of the, trends you've seen there.
Yeah. From a macro level, a picture, there's a wide array of innovations we need to meet our long-term energy and environmental needs. The IEA projects only 3 of 52 technologies that are going to be needed to tackle global climate change are in that later commercial scale. And you flag rightly that the nuclear is one of these areas that that has significant momentum and can meet our needs. There's a global push to significantly increase nuclear, and the U.S. is leading. Across government the last 8 years. We're catalyzing new next generation technologies that are more flexible, that are walk-away safe, and have the potential to be scaled up quickly to reach gigaton scale.
Right, but put yourself in the position of an entrepreneur starting in, 2016 with a next generation nuclear design. Sort of, how has the government really supported them over those 8 years, and what should they expect in the future?
Yeah, it's incredible to see the significant bipartisan support in Congress and across presidential administrations on nuclear power. If you go back to 2017 to 2020, Congress put significant resources behind the Advanced Reactor Demonstration Program, the kind of flagship big cost-share demonstration program ran by the DOE. The Trump administration DOE launched that program towards the end, making the initial selections. Companies like TerraPower, like X-Energy, and Kairos, who all recently have had significant milestones of groundbreakings and big announcements on more commercial deployments. And they used LPO, right, to extend a loan to the Vogtle reactors, now operating in Georgia at the single largest source of clean energy in this entire country. And then the Biden administration took the baton and looked to drive and make some more investments in the nuclear fuel supply chain. So those advanced reactors have the fuel they need, and our existing reactors have the fuel they need. They've used tools like the Development Finance Corporation to finance projects like AP1000s abroad in Poland, and really push forward the commercial deployment of these. And to a point where we're now seeing a significant light at the end of the tunnel for new nuclear. And I'm excited that we're going to see a wave of commercial deployments here in the coming years.
So let's turn our attention a little bit to Deploy24. We've got our conference coming up December 4th and 5th at the Washington, D.C. Convention Center. And, when you think about where we are today, there are hundreds, if not over 1,000, American innovators and entrepreneurs who've taken advantage of the tools, both in the first Trump administration and now in the Biden administration. And they are, announcing 900 new manufacturing facilities across the United States, right? So the onshoring and reshoring is happening. But they're also announcing first-of-a-kind projects, right, that are getting deployed. We have $65 billion of loan requests in from the nuclear industry out of $304 or so billion worth of total loan requests. We've got, $16 billion worth of advanced fossil loan requests. We got about $15 billion worth of carbon sequestration and storage loan requests, another $15 billion worth of sustainable aviation fuel loan requests, right? So many folks are looking to do big things here in this country after years of inventing things here and going to Asia or Europe to do the commercialization step, right? Particularly in places like solar and wind and battery storage, but also in places like grid modernization technologies and other things where, they've been scaled up other places first. So now, all these people are assembling. I think we're going to be sold out with 1,500 people at the convention. Like, they've taken a lot of risks. I mean, what should they be expecting to hear at the event, and why are you going?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one, I'll say there is significant bipartisan support for market-based policies that help drive American innovation, that help bridge the commercialization gap here in the U.S., and that can increase our American manufacturing competitiveness and our geopolitical position as an energy and technology provider to the globe. And so I think what I'm so excited about Deploy is to seek out those innovators and figure out what their needs are as we push forward our energy future here. As we want to construct a policy environment that enables their deployment across sectors of the economy, right? You flag some really key areas in manufacturing, in carbon capture, utilization and storage, in hydrogen, in advanced nuclear, in long duration energy storage. I mean, we've seen strong bipartisan support for policies to drive those technologies forward across almost a decade now within the halls of Congress and within foreign stall there at the Department of Energy. And so I'm really excited to take this moment where all these private sector leaders are going to be coming together and talk about the next steps on how we meet the deployment that we need to meet what could be doubling the U.S. grid by 2050 and ultimately enhancing our economic competitiveness as a country.
Yeah, one of the things I'm curious about is all these folks are, obviously coming. They're coming to Washington, D.C. to have this conversation. One of the headlines that came out of, Baku recently was that, that China is going to lead in all these areas. I think when you look at all the investments we made on critical minerals processing, all of the investments we've made in battery storage manufacturing, solar panel manufacturing, but also in hydrogen and other places, I think what gives you comfort that in this transition, we're going to continue to see American leadership, fight back from, really that concentrated position that, China has sort of staked out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that is top of mind of policymakers in D.C., regardless of what party you're in. I think it's why they've risen to the occasion on things like the Energy Act of 2020, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Bill, the CHIPS and Science Act. We want to take control of our energy future. We want to bolster the American worker, American manufacturing supply chain, and we want to drive forward a vision of energy additions here, a significant economic opportunity that's ahead of us. And so I think it's why it's so exciting to bring all these private sector and policymakers together. And look for opportunities to grow the U.S. Economic picture.
So one of the new sections of the conference this year is the exchange, where a lot of these companies are actually bringing their hardware and their expertise and putting it on display. Because as you, I think, alluded to earlier, I mean, a lot of folks just don't know these people, right? They know the sectors broadly, but they don't actually know who the face of clean energy, clean hydrogen, right, CCS, et cetera, are, right? And so those folks are coming. One of the companies is LongPath Technologies, which we interviewed yesterday on LinkedIn Live. And they're doing methane detection. They've already saved 4 billion cubic feet of gas with Williams Company and several other folks. And so they're going to be on stage talking about this. Talk about how important it is for folks to really put a face with, a name and really meet these American innovators so it's not theoretical.
There is no substitute for seeing things firsthand. I mean, when I came to Washington and started working in policy 20 years ago, I don't think I learned more from any other activity than going on the ground and seeing this critical minerals project, this manufacturing facility, and seeing the immense amount of work that it takes to make this happen. And I think it's a really important opportunity for folks to see the innovations that are happening, the complexity, the incredible American entrepreneurship that's happening in this country right now in this era. And so, I'm excited to see many of the tech startups I've read about in the news that I've seen with big project announcements over recent years and see a little more granularly and hold in my hands figuratively and maybe in some cases literally what they're doing.
That's great. And, over the last 4 years, I think you and I have gotten to know each other pretty well. We sparred on a lot of topics, which has been fun. But I think we share the belief that America has always been the source of important invention. that we haven't necessarily fully realized all that commercialization here in the United States. But I think there is, as you suggest, a bipartisan effort underway to really onshore and reshore. And so, part of, what I get concerned about is that a lot of these American innovators and entrepreneurs don't actually understand the political process. They don't understand the policy process. They don't understand what folks on the other side, not politically, but I mean just policy versus business, are solving for, right? I'm curious, what questions should a lot of these companies be asking? Like, who should they actually be seeking out and learning from at the event coming up here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think something that I would really underscore is the energy and environment picture in this country is much more stable than you probably would read in the newspapers and in some of the media. A lot of the significant policy that's been put in place to help catalyze technological innovation has been bipartisan in wide strokes, right? I even point back to the Energy Act of 2020 that President Trump, at the end of his first term, signed into law that really laid the foundation for some of these big moonshot goals, and then the infrastructure bill then funded them. And so I think folks should be talking about the opportunities ahead here. We're going to continue to drive forward this era of deployment because the U.S. needs it. As I mentioned, rising electricity demand, the need to compete geopolitically with adversaries like China, and really the desire in both parties to increase American manufacturing competitiveness and really drive forward a new era of American clean manufacturing.
One more question on this front. Many of the companies that have applied to the Loan Programs Office for loans have remarkably good relationships with their county, the city that they're in, the locality, the governor that's there, right? But they really don't have very good relationships in DC, right? And so I'm curious, if folks have a remarkable relationship in Nebraska or in other places with a Republican governor, what should they be, recognizing about this moment in terms of what they really need to invest in to ensure, frankly, that their project is going to move forward and that they have 20 years of relative certainty, moving forward? Because you can imagine that these are all billion-dollar projects, and while folks have networked well locally, and negotiated local incentive packages, right? We have a lot of projects that have been announced in Georgia, a lot of projects in Nebraska and in South Dakota, et cetera. I don't know that folks have really invested heavily in, DC relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think folks should take the opportunity to go meet with their members of Congress while they're here and their United States senators. I think, fortunately, Congress is going to be in session that week. The Deploy24 is happening. And let them know. I mean, in the end, not only here in DC, but go to their district offices. I mean, there's people on the ground who want to be there, who want to be helpful with the local, state, and federal permitting process, for example. Who want to be that liaison to the federal agencies, regardless of the type of work you're doing, if it's with the DOE or another federal agency. I think that relationship is really important because I think that is the type of engagement you need to be doing to accelerate your pathway and frankly, lead to significant private sector investments that are going to grow our economy.
Well, thank you very much for spending time with me, Jeremy. Have a great Thanksgiving and rest up because we're going to have a very busy December 4th and 5th.
You too, Jigar, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Thank you.